back to another episode of the Kitmen podcast. My name is Rohan, and as always, I'm joined by Owen calling in from Boulder, Colorado. Owen, how are you?
Owen? I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're good. And also calling in is the man with probably the worst Wi-Fi in the world. He lags out of FIFA. He lags out of NHL. His name is Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
And joining us for our very special episode, our very special guest, all the way from London, England, Sam Tighe. Sam, how are you?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. How's the Wi-Fi holding up my end? Is it all good? I'm the furthest away from you than anyone else.
Oh no, you're actually perfect. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to the podcast, Sam was actually our very first guest that we ever had on the podcast. And I don't want to speak for Sam, but he probably had a terrible time. And I'll tell you why. I'll explain myself. Okay. We had only been recording for like 2 months. So like we had no clue what we were doing. We had a $15 Amazon mic that just produced the worst sounds you can ever imagine, just like the most amount of feedback. It was terrible. And Owen and Josh, I don't know if I told you guys this. I might have just not ever told you guys this, but we were an hour late to our own interview.
Were we really?
We were an hour. Sam, do you remember?
I mean, I do. I remember you were all sat together on a sofa, right?
Not even a sofa. I had 4 desk chairs pulled around my desk, and we were just sitting around this tiny little mic.
Right. Yeah, I remember that bit. If I don't remember the lateness, but okay. I mean, I can believe it, I guess. Time zones are tricky, man. You know.
See, okay, I didn't know this until last night because I wanted to double check that we were not an hour late, but I didn't know that the UK switches time zones in the summer. See, I didn't know that. So when you were like UK time, I was like, okay, that means like Greenwich time. So I put in Greenwich time, which is an hour. Or no, you said Greenwich time. I thought UK time. UK time's an hour later, right?
We're in British summertime right now. We have to put our clocks back and forward depending on the weather, because I think the official reasoning is that if you don't change the clocks for the winter, it's actually too dark to walk to school in the morning for children. Like, that's genuinely what it is. Like at 8 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to get your kids to school, it's dark. It's just like pitch black. So we have to move the clocks in order to get an extra hour of daylight, in order to make it so that basically it's safe to do the school run in the morning in the winter. And then we switch them around again for the summer because it's bright from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. So it's okay.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's tricky though. It's tricky. We keep you on your toes, you know?
Yeah, it's so tricky. So yeah, we were an hour late to our own interview, which was pretty bad. But Sam was nice enough to join us again. This time we're not talking about football. We're talking about Sam himself. For those of you who don't know, Sam has had a very distinguished, very interesting career. He's worked for Bleacher Report. He's worked for Southampton. He's done a ton of stuff. So we're going to be talking about his experiences today. So Sam, first and foremost, where are you from?
I do like it when an American asks me this question, because I get to tell you that I was born in Birmingham in England. And then I moved to Hampshire in England. And then I went to university in Bristol in England, before I finally settled down in London. But the 3 places that I lived prior to settling down in London all have namesakes over in the USA, which I just find, well, to be fair, you copied us on most things, so I'm not surprised. But I just find that quite funny and quite amusing.
I mean, I personally haven't been to Birmingham, but huge Peaky Blinders fan. I know Josh is too, so I support it.
Yeah, my whole family really is from Birmingham, basically. I mean, I'm like quarter Irish, hence the surname, and I was like one of those people there. My family, like, through the generations, fled Ireland because of the potato famine, and ended up in Birmingham, which is kind of what's happening in the Peaky Blinders. Like, half of them are Irish, half of them are gypsies, and that's kind of it. It's like, they're my people, man.
Yeah. So, being in the UK, you're just surrounded by football all the time. It's in the culture, it's in the history. When did it really click for you that football was something that you wanted to do with your career 100%?
For the career thing, was last year of university, college for you guys. I think basically what I'd done in my first 2 years of uni was just basically talk about football with my housemates and my flatmates 8-9 hours a day, play football, play FIFA, play Football Manager. It was basically the only thing I ever talked about. And I started to realize as I hit my third year of university that I would only have a year left of this before I had to hit the real world. And I'd have to go and get a real job and wear a suit and be a sucker. And I just thought, what can I do to make sure that doesn't happen? And so I started to plot out what I could do. And the two options were go be a coach or go into writing. And yeah, I just think writing was an easier fit for me because I could walk straight to my laptop and do it. I didn't have to leave the house. So that's what I ended up doing. And here we are, bit of practice and yeah.
It worked out. Yeah, it worked out completely. So what did you study in university? Was that like journalism?
No, it wasn't journalism. That would have been handy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Although, to be fair, what I actually did end up studying was relatively useful. I studied politics, which didn't really give me any of the kind of specific training that you would probably need as a journalist. It didn't give me any practice doing any interviews or anything like that. But it did teach me to structure an argument and balance an argument. And it taught me to write properly. And that ultimately is what I started doing in my first kind of 6 to 12 months of actually writing about sports, is because I'm obviously not interviewing people. I don't have access, I don't have contacts, and I'm not working for a newspaper. I'm not writing reports on games. I'm writing opinion pieces at the end of the day. That's what you start doing. Most people just put their opinion down on paper and see what happens, see if people agree with it. And so what politics does is it teaches you how to structure and build an argument, argue a case, and then balance it all off at the end. And that is essentially what I did with my first ever piece, which was about Kyle Walker. And that's what I did for most of the pieces that I wrote for the first 6 to 12 months. They were just my opinion. You just got to write it down in some kind of coherent fashion. And I have to say, although the degree wasn't the most helpful thing I could have done, it wasn't the worst thing either. It did give me some skills in that area.
Okay, that's interesting. So you've been writing about football since your third year of college, right?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, I mean, as a job since 2012, but yeah, my last year of college was in 2011, so roughly then.
Are you good at football at all?
I was all right. I was okay. I played I played as a striker in under 5, 6, 7, 8 through to like 9 and 10. And then I was in the county of Hampshire, where I live. There's basically like the only actual football club in that area, like in the last like half an hour, is Reading. But not too far away, you've got Southampton, you've got Fulham, you've got Arsenal, and then a little bit further up, obviously, with Tottenham, and you've got Chelsea as well. So those scouts tend to sort of proliferate that area. And I did get invited to the Reading Academy at one point, about age 7, but I did not accept. It was a bit weird. Most kids just go, yeah, let's do it. But when I was told that I would have to spend like at least 2 weeknights per week, like Tuesday and maybe Wednesday or something, traveling over, training, coming back, I was like, can't really be bothered with that. And then my parents were like, well, we're not going to push you into it, because as you guys know, it's a huge succubus on parents' time to get a kid through an academy and into a professional setup. It would have cost them thousands of hours and tens of thousands of pounds. And I think we all just agreed, nah. So just carried on playing for fun. And then I converted to centre back at age 13 because I grew much taller than everybody else. Played centre back for a bit, and yeah, I mean, I'm 31 now, so I don't really play Sunday League. It hurts the bones too much, unfortunately. But if I had to play anywhere, I would probably revert back to centre back, because at 11 aside, that's kind of where I ended up playing.
Yeah, you might be playing in front of Cal the Dragon. You know who Cal the Dragon is, right?
Cal the Dragon.
Oh, you don't know who Cal the Dragon? Oh, let me tell. Owen and I love this guy. So, he's on TikTok. He has about 1 million followers.
Sorry. Yeah, this is the one platform I just haven't got to yet. Showing my age. My bad.
Oh no. Listeners, thank you, by the way, for the support on TikTok. 180,000 views on one of them. So thank you guys. But what was I saying? Cal the Dragon. He plays goalkeeper in basically Sunday League, and he is 20, right, Owen?
I think so, something like that.
Yeah, so he's about our age, and he is like, he always talks about going pro, and he went viral during quarantine when he has like this little like 5x5 goal, and then like he has like I don't know what he does, but he has someone like throw the ball at him, and then he'll like run across from outside the goal and make this diving save.
Most extravagant, outlandish saves for a toss.
Yeah, for a toss, and it's just the funniest thing.
Was it in slow motion as well as like? Is it making it look really dramatic?
I think there's a few, yeah, and he puts like super dramatic music in the background.
Sounds good. I can do the same thing. I'll do slow motion slide tackles from behind and kill someone, and then put really dramatic music over the top, chariots of fire, to make it sound all heroic.
You'd go viral on TikTok.
Yeah,
you
easy.
could go
That'll
viral.
be. I'll do one video. It'll be that, and I'll be out. That'll be my only contribution to the platform. One and done, but 10 million views.
There you
go. So you worked at Bleacher Report for 7-8 years, correct?
Yeah, something 2012 through to the end of last year. Yeah. So roughly 8 years.
8 years. How did you end up at Bleacher Report? Because that's an awesome gig to get like almost straight out of college.
Yeah. So straight out of college, I actually ended up working in a call center, which was fun. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So I had to basically start from the bottom in terms of writing, building an audience, developing a writing rhythm, getting better, practicing, all those things. And when I was 21 and I came out of college, I was just like, right, well, I need to find a platform that will host my content. I'm not asking for any money. I just want to be able to write so I can just improve. And I ended up at this like really quite terrible little website called Football Transfer Tavern, who are owned by a company who have actually gone on to do actually quite cool things. They're called Snack Media, and they own the Players Tribune. Those wonderful pieces that all the players write on the Players Tribune, they own. That's part of their portfolio. Then 90-minute media, all that stuff. So they've actually gone on and done some really cool things. But they had this really shitty backdoor website that they used to let me write on, and that was just 3 months. That was just a bit of fun, just a bit of practice. And while I was doing that, I was like hunting around for a place that would also allow me to write for them, but kind of had a couple of ingredients I was looking for, and I found BR somehow. I don't know how, given the difference in country as well, UK to US. But they had they weren't paying, but they would let you write for free, and they had a copy editing team. So they had people that would go on and actually edit your work. And I was like, great, this is what I need. Like, I need to improve. Like, I need someone to tell me like properly, like when I've used a phrase wrong or done something stupid or just got something like factually incorrect and things like that. They're actually paying attention here. Also, the fact that they employ a copy editing team would suggest that they have a bit of money. So if I impress and I'm good, maybe one day we can get to a point where they might be able to give me some money. And ultimately, if you are looking for a platform there and you're just writing for free, yes, write for free to start with. I think it's okay, but try and make sure it's at a spot that you think could pay you eventually. Otherwise, it might be a bit of a waste of time. So BR looked to me like, with the stature of their website, having employed a copy editing team, as a place that if I played my cards right and impressed and was consistent, then they might end up giving me a shot. And that's all you need, just like one little window. And fortunately, they did end up giving me that window. And I took it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh, and Josh has just texted us. Wi-Fi is so bad, internet just cut out, not letting me join back. So there's the Wi-Fi for you. But so you started a podcast after your time at Bleacher Report called Ranks FC. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it. And you have Jack and Dean, Jack the host, Dean the transfer guru. You guys also work together at Bleacher Report. How did you guys meet? How did you guys get the whole podcasting started?
So I met them both at BR. They both obviously worked with me at Bleacher Report. Dean was 2015. Remember it pretty well because we basically started to pivot towards video, and we had a studio. So I'd solely been a writer up until that point. I'd done a couple of Google Hangouts or whatever, but nothing major. But we started to pivot towards having a studio and an in-house video team and creating 3 or 4 videos a day that could go and live in the app. And what they wanted was a transfer insider. They wanted someone who could come on and they could reveal and break news, but they could also do it in a pretty coherent way on camera and, talk talk properly, basically. It's amazing the amount of journalists that at that point, this was still a bit of a niche skill. They just were not comfortable doing that. They just would not do this sort of thing on camera. A lot of them are like 65, so like it's
really?
It's a very big. I mean, all the weird reports you see in English newspapers like the Sun and the Express and the Mirror and those ones, and the ones with the really clearly like hatchet job intros and puns and things like that, they're all done by people that are like 60 or 65, like that and they're not particularly interested in digital era. They're not particularly interested in getting on camera. They just want to go to a stadium and write a few puns and submit a match report. That's basically it's what they've always done, and they don't want to change. So right. It was a genuine challenge because there are not many people out there like Dean who have contacts to the point that Dean does, and there are even fewer still people that have those contacts that can actually express themselves properly with a microphone and on camera. So not to say Dean got the job by default, because that would be rude. However, there were like three candidates. Dean was by far the best one. And I did his screen test. So I was the mock host, and he had to come in and reveal some stuff. And he actually told us that day that Raheem Sterling would move to Man City for 50 million. And about 3 weeks later, it happened. So he got the job.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how I remember it, 2015, because that's when Sterling moved. And then Jack was a little bit later, a couple of years later. He initially got the job on the social team, running social accounts and stuff like that, but became pretty obvious pretty quickly that he wanted to do podcasting. And it took him about a year and a half, but he managed to convince my boss to let him start a podcast for Bleacher Report called BR Football Ranks and get me and Dean onto it. And that's how we started. We started with BR. And then, at the end of last year, they changed, as a company, they sort of changed course a little bit. They changed tracks. They basically laid everybody off in the UK office. They moved pretty much the entire football operation over to New York and retained 6 or 7 people, but about 30, 35 people lost their job maybe.
Wow.
And Dean and Jack were 2 of those people. I was in a slightly different situation, and they did ask me to carry on to the end of the year, but I didn't, because the 3 of us agreed the podcast is our favorite part of our job. It's what we enjoy most. Let's carry on. So let's go independent. And then if we need to, pick up side gigs, if we need to go freelance, we need to go and do a few things here and there, that's fine. Keep ourselves afloat. But let's start a company and let's see if we can always pitch ourselves as consultants or all encompassing packages or whatever. And let's pick up some clients and let's create some cool stuff. And that's the leap we decided to make. I mean, look, it's a leap, but we were sort of pushed off the diving board in a way. Dean and Jack did lose their jobs before this happened, so we needed that little push. But very often, you do need that push to make the decision. You probably in the back of your head you've been thinking about for a couple of months, maybe.
So were you very confident in making that transition, or were you pretty nervous about it? Just,
I think. Yeah, there's always going to be some nerves. We knew that we had a really strong listener base. We're in the top 1% of podcasts listened to in the world. That's good. We know that we had not just listeners, but really loyal listeners, people that really liked the podcast, people that would interact with us every single week via different social channels and talk to us and tweet about it and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, there's enough here. We can transfer this audience and we can start a Patreon, we can start a subscribership. And I think people will join, and let's see where it goes. Let's see how many we can attract. Let's fill in the gaps from there. And all we had to do really in the end was start the Patreon, monetize the podcast, get adverts on it. I say all we had to do. This took us literally 8 months, and then pick up a couple of clients to fill in the gaps. And we're very lucky to pick up LiveScore as a client and New Balance as well. Mm-hmm. So working with those 2 and sort of doing our own pod, monetizing it. We're all good. We're happy. And yeah, it's a leap. Yes, there were some nerves, but I think the really strong bond we had with the listeners and how much the listeners liked the podcast, we knew they'd carry over, and we knew it was sustainable.
Okay.
So were you able to advertise Ranks FC on the Bleacher Report podcast before you started it, or how'd you go about doing that?
So we left a little 2-minute episode So what we did first was we released our standard Wednesday episode of BR Football Ranks on the feed, and we said this is the last episode of BR Football Ranks. So this is it. But don't worry, like we're not giving up. It's not going to happen anymore, but we'll continue to podcast. So just bear with us. So we just did a final episode and just told everyone that was going to be the last one under that guise. Mm-hmm. And then a week later, we got our new feed sorted, new RSS feed. And we just while we still had access to the Bleacher Report feed, we just put a 2-minute episode on there going, by the way, we're over here now. So it's just one more episode that people had, that the subscribers got dropped into their feed, which was, if you subscribe to Ranks FC now, then you can just carry on as normal. So we were able to advertise directly to listeners in that way. And then, of course, it's, just telling people on social media. A lot of people will have heard this is the last episode of BR Football Ranks and, DM'd me or something and gone, what the hell, man? And I go, don't worry, here's the new feed. See you next week. And it was... Right. It's relatively easy, but transferring an audience from one RSS feed to another takes a long time. You lose so many thousands of people through the cracks, and it's very frustrating, which was part of the reason why we decided to go independent fully, because we could have approached another company and gone, would you like us to do your podcast for us? Great, wonderful, but if in 2 years' time they decided they didn't want that podcast anymore, we'd be in the same scenario. We'd start a third time with a new RSS feed. And at a certain point, you've got to take control of your own assets and take control of your own sort of security and destiny there a little bit.
Definitely.
Do you still do any work for Bleacher Report at all? Since you said you do a little bit of freelancing here and there.
Yeah, I did a little bit. So I basically stopped in roughly October as a full-time employee. But they did a video series in partnership with Football Manager, and they'd signed that deal to do 4 episodes showcasing new features of the new Football Manager game. And Football Manager and I get along quite well. Like as the company and I get along quite well. They've invited me to their offices a few times. I've been to their Christmas parties and their quizzes and stuff. They're very nice to me, and I think they're very good people. So when BR and FM signed the deal, Football Manager specifically requested for me to present it and host the piece of content, and not oversee it because I wasn't the producer, but chip in and be part of the machine. I didn't really want to let them down, and I'd already agreed to do it for BR, so I finished, but I still did 4 episodes of that because just wanted to leave Bleacher Report on good terms and make sure everything was okay, and they were very good to me, has to be said. And I wanted to make sure that Football Manager didn't get left without a host, that they'd specifically planned around. So that was cool. That was the first episode was Monchi, says Sevilla sporting director. I was supposed to interview him, but he basically can't speak very good English, so that didn't go very well at all.
Oh, I remember that. I remember seeing that episode on Bleacher Report. They had like subtitles for him, right?
They did, yeah. I mean, we specifically requested him to do it in English, and he said he'd give it a go, but it became pretty obvious quite early on that it wasn't going to be a very interesting interview. It would be like me speaking Spanish, and it would be bad. So basically, we just had the translator do it all, and it was what it was. And then the second episode was Ralph Hasenhüttl from Southampton manager. So spent 45 minutes with him talking about pressing and team talks, which was good. Third episode was Yuri Tielemans and Brendan Rodgers. And that was interesting. That was very interesting. Brendan Rodgers is quite the character. And then the last one was with the journalist Ralf Honigstein, the German journalist, Bundesliga guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically it's like a 4 video series with them, and that's the last thing I did with them. Not that they've asked me or anything like that, but I don't really have time to do anything else at the moment. Like with the Ranks commitments and continuing to work with Southampton, I'm basically saying no to everything else at the moment anyway. But they haven't. It's not that they've asked me or anything.
Wow, that's actually super cool that you got to interview Southampton's manager, Leicester's manager, Tielemans, Sevilla sporting director. So what other type of freelance do you do?
I just do the Southampton stuff now. So working for the club, I've just started the 5th season, I think.
Oh, well.
maybe it's the 7th. No, it's the 5th. I think it's the 5th season. Writing for their website, for their app, for their match day program as well. Writing tactical stuff. So match previews, opposition analysis. Today I wrote something on Adam Armstrong, who they've just signed as their new striker to replace Danny Ings. So dig into some Adam Armstrong stuff and write a piece for their website on what he can bring and how that changes the dynamic, that sort of stuff. It's very interesting. Like, it's good. And I really like Southampton as well. Like, as I said, I moved to Hampshire when I was like 4 years old and spent a bit of time there. And Southampton are in that county. My best mate in the whole world is a Saints fan. They're my second team, I guess, really. So it's very cool to work for a club. It gives you, I don't know, maybe like a little layer of legitimacy and prestige. It's paid work as well, which is good. And it's, I don't know, I'm quite proud to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for real. I see that Rashford jersey behind you. Did he sign that for you when you did that house tour?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he signed it. The Grealish one is signed as well.
Oh, is the Grealish one signed too? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you meet Grealish?
What's this one? And then I don't know what the occasion is because it doesn't fit in the background. But we also have an Oxlade-Chamberlain signed shirt as well.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I think I've got. Sorry, hang on a sec. I've got Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, and Thomas Muller signed Bayern shirt. I tell you what, that's one of my most embarrassing days. We went and interviewed Thomas Muller and Alphonso Davies pretty much back to back, and this was before Alphonso Davies had actually broken into the team. So he hadn't even really been moved to left back yet. And Niko Kovac was still the coach, or either that or he'd just been replaced by Hansi Flick. So this was way before what was about to happen with Davies, that you know full well what happened next. And I went into that room and I got the shirt signed by Muller, and I was like, sick, he's a World Cup winner, that's good. And then we got Davies in, and I was like, should I get Davies to sign this shirt? And I thought, nah, he might not turn out to be any good. It's like, oh, balls. Never mind. I messed that one up, didn't I? Like, I knew who he was. Like, as a talent, I knew that he could be quite something. But I think the story that Davies went on to enact over the course of that season was beyond anyone's wildest dreams. So I don't beat myself up too much for it, because not even he saw that coming. But at the same time, I was in the room with Alphonso and with a pen, and I didn't do it, and I probably should have.
Oh, I that's so tough. That's just so tough.
Yeah, never mind. But the Rashford one, he signed that one for me in his kitchen. Yeah, when we did the house tour, that was pretty cool. And then Grealish, I haven't met Grealish, but through a friend who knows his brother, he managed to get that sent to me somewhere just before Christmas, I think.
Oh wow, that's so cool. So you've had like these awesome interactions with players. You had a height off with Tammy Abraham.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that. What was that like?
So that was a spur of the moment thing. It was right at the end. He was about to leave. I looked him up on, basically we were traveling over to Swansea to interview him and to play a game of FIFA from the current year. I guess that would have been either 17 or 18, or maybe 16. I think it was 17 or 18, because he was on loan at Swansea at the time. And then we were going to play a game of FIFA from the year that he was born. So that was like FIFA 98 or 99 or whatever it was as well. Sorry, I don't know the exact ones, but it was ages ago. So we had an old console, we had the old game with the old controllers, and it was one game of FIFA with Tammy from now, one game of FIFA with Tammy from the year he was born. And you just interview and chat with them while they do it. And it's a really nice, relaxed atmosphere. It's awesome. A good way of talking to a footballer without it being very intense, with the spotlights beaming on them and they're worried about what they're going to say. They just kind of chill and they just talk. So I had a really good time with Tammy. So I spent 30, 40 minutes with him. He was really nice to me. And you sort of have to play these occasions by ear. And if you get along with a player like that, if they have a nice time with you, you can tell, and then you can maybe ask them for a favour, like a signed shirt or something. On this occasion, for some reason, I decided that I'd cash all that credit in with a height off. which is a bizarre thing to do, really. But what happened is I'd looked him up on Wikipedia just before we were on the way to Swansea, and it said he was 6'3", I think, and I was like, no way is this man 6'3". Absolutely not, because I'm 6'4", and when he walked in as well, I was like, nah, that guy's not 6'3", not 6'3" at all. So I asked him about it. I was like, oh, Wikipedia says you're 6'3". He was like, what? He was like really genuinely like appalled by it. Like he was like, I need to fix that. I've got to fix that. I'm 6'6". I am 6'6". Like, he's adamant that he is 6'6".
Oh, wow.
And I was like, are you sure? Like that? And he was like, absolutely. And then he took his shoes off and we had a height off. And that was it, because we were both talking about how tall we were. That was literally the story. I told him what Wikipedia said his height was, and he was so pissed off about it that he took his shoes off and proved me wrong.
Is he 6'6"?
He's absolutely massive, mate. Yeah, he's at least 6'5", if not 6'6". It's tough to say because there's a lot of hair as well.
Right.
So you'd need like a full independent adjudication.
6'8".
Yeah. So, but he's definitely not 6'3". That is not right.
Wow, that's crazy. You also had Memphis Depay freestyle on Instagram Live. Is he good?
Oh my god, I don't know, mate. He did it all in Dutch. I can't tell you. I didn't understand a word of it. That was not prepared for that. I mean, I was in the way that like I knew that I was going to ask him if it was going well. Like if you're getting along and you think you can be cheeky and ask for it, and if he's receptive, then by all means give it a go. And I was like, yeah. We started talking about his new track, Dubai Freestyle, which is actually quite good. To be fair, I was actually quite impressed. And yeah, I just asked him on a whim if you fancy it. And he's like, yeah, cool. And then walked straight over to his desk, put a backbeat on, and started going. And I was like,
oh wow.
Now here's the thing, right? Here's the really bad bit, because he's obviously like, he's a cool dude. He's freestyling. He's making it up as he goes along. He's got a backbeat on. He's in this like luxurious apartment, I think in Eindhoven, and he looks cool. And then you're on the screen, like there's two of you, your face and his face, and like I don't understand the word he's saying, and I'm just sort of sat there and he's going along, and I'm like, what do I do? What the fuck do I do with my head, my face, my arms? Like he's sat there and I'm in front of like, I don't know, 10,000 people live, and then however many people later on YouTube, and then it gets clipped up and social. What do I do? How do you like bop along to it? I felt so awkward, guys. Honestly, it was ridiculous. I just sort of do like really reasonably subtle head movements, a little bit of laughing, and then just when it's done, it's done.
You know, I can understand that, because like I'll see people come up to rappers and like beg them to freestyle in front of them, and then they're just like freestyling in front of like Lil Uzi Vert or like Lil Baby with like no beat. And the rapper, and then everyone's just kind of like standing around there, and it's just like what do you do when someone is freestyling in front of you?
Yeah, it's pretty awkward. And like the nature of those Instagram conversations is your face is like right there, so you can't really like look down or away or anything. Like you can't do anything but look straight down the camera and just kind of like just wait for it to finish. Just please stop. But anyway, look, the important thing is that my boss really liked it, and it was a good social clip, and Memphis was happy to do it. It's just any kind of interaction like that with a footballer was great. When they did the social clip, they like took me, and then I started the clip and asked him to do it, and then they like zoomed me out, and like they made my face really small, and then like just zoomed me off the screen.
Oh, that's cool.
And then just got rid of me basically. So they did the social clip, and I was in it for like 3 seconds max.
Oh, that's cool.
And no one else had to on the replay watch me sort of awkwardly going like that.
Do you listen to a lot of rap music?
Yeah, I do. To be honest, I do. Still wasn't quite prepared for Dutch freestyling, but I tend to. Yeah, to be honest with you, I think I probably listen to that more than anything else. Although I really only listen to about three things. I listen to basically like dance music, like Above and Beyond, like that sort of stuff, or rap, or like proper like noughties English, like Arctic Monkeys rock and stuff like that. But it's actually mostly rap at this point. It's mostly, and that's Bleacher Report has had a hell of an influence on me in certain areas. I've become so Americanized in so many ways. When you work for a company like that for like 8 years and you have a target audience, you manipulate the way you think, you change the way that you think and operate, and you change what you're looking for and what you like. And yeah, I end up listening to all that kind of stuff.
I mean, okay, this is a little bit off topic, but I was making my breakfast this morning. I had eggs, toast, and Nutella, and I was trying to figure out a way to bring this up. But I have a question, since we're talking about like U.S. culture. I have a question about something in the U.K. What is up with beans and toast for breakfast? Because I feel that has to be one of the worst breakfasts ever created. Because I feel I've never had it. I'm because I feel like the beans make the toast like really soggy and like really beany. Do you like it?
That's the beauty of it.
No. Although I am, I think in the minority, like the vast minority in this country. Like I reckon maybe 90% of this country either like or love baked beans.
Wow.
And 10% don't. And I am firmly in that 10%. I'm actually not very good at being an English person, full stop, because I don't like tea. And
you don't like tea?
And that's like what we're like, that's our thing, man.
Oh, wow.
That's like
The
what
tea is
we
different,
do.
though. It's different tea than like iced tea, than the green iced tea that we have here, right?
Oh, 100%, yeah. But I don't like it. I think it's awful. And again, I'm in the massive minority there. I just don't like it at all. And we have like what we call a full English breakfast, and it has bacon and sausages and toast and mushrooms and eggs, and then it often comes with baked beans, and people love it. But I always ask for the baked beans not to make it onto the plate if possible, please, or replace it with extra mushrooms or something. I don't like it. You're absolutely right. It makes the toast soggy. It's not, the beans aren't good. I'm not a fan. And also, like, it depends on what kind of get you over there, but they make you fart quite a lot.
I was also thinking about that. Like, that's a rough thing to have for breakfast, because Josh's family owns a Mexican restaurant, and me and Owen have both worked there. And like we'll have like tacos, quesadillas with like beans for our lunch break, dinner break. And like it's
the rest of the day.
Rough. Like, it's still rough.
Game over.
Yeah, and it's like
I know.
I just can't imagine
heavy.
breakfast. You just starting the day off bad. You know, you're just going to be gassy the whole day.
Absolutely, and like
But
the
that
full
was
English
coffee,
already.
I mean,
The full English already includes eggs, which is enough trouble for you anyway. Why add beans to it?
Yeah. Well, I guess not coffee because you guys have tea, but like if you choose to have coffee as well, like that's just World War III.
I drink coffee prolifically. That's what I'll have that as the substitute. So yeah, we're all in the same boat, mate. I just don't think we need to make our lives harder for ourselves, and if that means missing out on baked beans, I'm more than happy to miss out.
That's fair. But back to some of the work you've done. So you've also interviewed Bernardo Silva and many other players. Well, you made that face. I wasn't going to ask about it, but now I want to ask about it.
Oh, Bernardo was a joy. I mean, he's one of my favorite players. So it was wonderful to get to speak to him. I made that face because I ended up on a Portuguese news channel off the back of that.
Oh, did you?
Because he played the piano for me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So he was doing a house tour, and he was walking around. He was like, "Oh yeah, here's that. Here's my kitchen, blah 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 blah." And he walked up the stairs and walked through the hall and went to go to like one of the rooms. And on the landing of the hall, like the upper floor, was a piano, like an electric piano. And I was like, "Is that a piano?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm learning." I was like, "Oh, play us a song." Again, like the objective of these Instagram lives, you know, when I've got Rashford and Memphis and Bernardo, is to try and make it like lively and to try and make it like visually like stimulating, not just for someone to sit there and just answer questions in like a slow drawl. Like, let's move around your house. Let's look at what you've got. Like, Let's show the audience stuff. And I saw the piano. I was like, oh, can you play us a song? And he was like, okay, like, yeah, okay. So he like props his phone up on the side and then goes to work. And of course, it's all live and it's all cut up and it all goes on YouTube. And then, funnily enough, a Portuguese guy I know called Elder, who I used to live with in London for a year in a house share, he's moved back to Portugal. He messaged me on Facebook and was like, Sam, it's been maybe 5 years since I'd spoken to him. He's like, Sam, I saw you on the news in Portugal because Bernardo Silva played you a song on his piano. And I was like, oh, fuck. That happened then.
Did you have that same face? You were just staring down the camera.
I was less awkward on this one, fortunately. It was, yeah, piano is probably more in my zone than Dutch freestyle rapping.
Yeah, teach their own.
It's a little bit easier.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. I was also like genuinely really impressed with Bernardo playing piano. Because well, he was okay, but he just started, so he was learning, and he was still willing to play. Like, he was still willing to, on a live Instagram feed in front of thousands of people and then loads of people later on YouTube and then on the news, give it a go. He was like, all right, I'll give it a go. Memphis has released several tracks. We know that he can freestyle. Like, I was obviously impressed that he was able to do it, but at the same time, this is Memphis. Bernardo was like, I can't really do it very well, but I'll give it a go. I was like, fair play.
Props.
Yeah. I would have said no.
Yeah. So you got the piano, you got the freestyle, and what's like, are those like the top of your interactions, or what's like the coolest interaction you've had on with a player?
I mean, the Rashford house tour was very. I started going through his fridge, didn't I? At the end of the day, I don't know if you've seen it, but I basically just walked into Rashford's house and just started going through his stuff.
Yeah.
And I was chastising him for loading a wine fridge full of Coca-Cola and things like that, and it was pretty amusing. I have to say that was probably right up there.
That's awesome. That's so personal. That's cool.
Yeah, those ones were good. I had 2 or 3 or 4 of those in a row that year. All the ones we've talked about basically that were really, really good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
For Ranks FC, you've also had people like Chris Richards, shout out Dallas, and Derek Ray from the famous commentator on FIFA.
Yeah.
How was that interaction?
So Derek is lovely. He's lovely. Oh man, he is so nice. That's probably the longest podcast episode we've ever released. I think it was like 1 hour and 35 or 1 hour and 40. And like, typically speaking, we're looking to get it under 1 hour. So we are miles off that mark at that point. And usually we sit down and we look at maybe where we could chop a section here or chop a section there. With Derek, we sat down, we discussed potentially chopping a bit here and a bit there for about 3 minutes. And we got to that point. We're just like, you know what? Should we just run the whole thing? Because it was glorious. Like, the way he speaks is thrilling. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just his gravitas and his energy, and his really soft Scottish accent, which is just really pleasing to listen to. But he's got some really, really good stories. He's really engaging. We just thought, we'll just run the entire thing, and it went down really well. People loved it. So I hope you guys did too if you listened. But we came out of that thinking, what a guy, like what a gent.
Yeah, his voice is like up there with, I'd say, like with like Morgan Freeman, with who's that really old American actor with that thick white mustache? You guys know who I'm talking about? He's in like a lot of Western movies. I cannot remember his name, but he also has.
I know who you're talking about. I can picture his face.
There's James Earl Jones too.
I have no clue who that is.
That's all right. Nice voice.
Nice.
As iconic a voice as Betty White. There you go.
There you go.
For sure.
I don't think I've heard Betty White speak, if I'm being honest.
You never watched Golden Girls?
Okay, I saw something the other day that I thought was insanely accurate. It's Betty White is so old that she had an entire show about being old, and most of us, like our age, don't even know that. Like,
she's a legend. She's a legend, mate. I'd put her up there with Derek Ray. in the States, honestly. But yeah, Derek was lovely, so that was cool. And then Chris is super nice as well. Like he gets it. Like in England, we have very different athletes to you guys. You guys are just on a general basis, just as people, like forget the athletes for a second, just as a general basis, you guys are like much better at speaking to people and answering questions properly that aren't just like 3-word answers. And that's like an Americanism versus like a Britishism. We're like very closed off, we're very private, and we really struggle. A lot of people that aren't media trained will struggle to really give you a good, engaging answer. And I don't know if it's just the accent or what, but you guys always sound much more engaging and warm and friendly and willing to talk. And then that extends to your athletes, who then get a little bit of media training, but don't get their personality squashed out of them. And that's when you get American sports people like Weston McKennie and Chris Richards, who are great fun, have great personalities, aren't scared to say stuff, want to further their own causes when necessary, but would like to have fun as well, and become great interviewees. And Chris and Weston we had on BR Football Ranks, and then Chris on Ranks FC, both amazing for that.
You know, that is one of the most accurate statements I've ever heard, because we were at, me, Owen, I don't know if Josh was there, but we were at a restaurant watching the Euros, and I was like, you know what? I should make a TikTok. Like, this is like TikTok material. So I went around asking people like at halftime and before the game. I was like, do you want to do an interview? Like, I'll just ask you, is it coming home? You give like a 10, 15 second answer. Every American I went up to, happiest person to ever be asked, so willing, so excited. And this is an English restaurant. It's actually been rated #1 in the US by NBC Sports to watch Premier League football. And then I was like, dang, you know what? Like, if I want this to go viral, it needs some English people in it. So I went around asking English people. Every person I asked just said no and laughed in my face. Like, I was like, dang, I need some like English accents in this. I need someone from England. I went up to this like guy. He just said no and then laughed at me, and it was so sad.
Yeah, sorry about that. It is what it is. I mean, it's just like the sort of like basest form of journalism, which is a vox pop. Go out and ask people stuff. Like, go out into the street and just ask 10 people the same question and just see what randomers say. I'd imagine in America that is really easy to pull off, and you get a nice variety of answers. You get some larger than life people and personalities. That assignment in England is like being sent to hell. It's just awful, because no one will speak to you. Not even one person will speak to you. People pretend to have earphones in and say, I can't hear you, when they don't have earphones in, and they carry on walking past you. It is savage. It's just who we are.
I've seen that on the Sidemen channel. It was they did a Sidemen Sunday where it was like interviewing random people on the street, and KSI is just like yelling at random people walking around London, and they're all just ignoring him. And this is like KSI, like they have like 10 million subscribers. He has like 20 million subscribers. Everyone's ignoring him. And I thought it was just like one of the funniest things.
I mean, I would ignore him too, for the record. I'm sort of bitching about my own kinsman here, but I would probably be one of those people who go, sorry, I can't hear you. I just got to go over it. Yeah, and just like leave and just run off. Like, it's just, we don't do that. We don't stop and answer questions. That's not in our nature.
Can't be bothered.
I mean, like, I obviously have done a lot of asking the questions. I know what kind of answers I like, so I'm probably more likely to sit there and give you an answer. I've had media training in reverse in a way, but yeah, that 99% of people in this country aren't interested in talking to anybody.
I think that's funny. I think that's like, because I remember you saying that on the Chris Richards episode, is like he just like articulates himself so well, and he's like is he 20 now? He's young.
Roughly, yeah.
He's young, and I mean that's just super interesting.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up here a little bit, tell us a little bit about what you have in store for the future for Ranks FC, what type of hopes you have for Ranks FC, and what's in the future for you.
Well, it's a good question, really. I'm trying to figure out what what the plan of action is myself, it keeps changing every 3 months, because when you're a new business, your first year, you make good progress. Fortunately for us, we've made good progress, and we're able to start taking on new clients, new assignments, changing the things that we do, paying people for stuff. That's cool. Like, we've paid people to do stuff. That's for 6 months. Obviously we weren't able to do that because we're still trying to generate enough money. So that's really cool. I think that probably the key feature is to do what we've always done as Ranks, which is continue to create the content that we want to see out there. And we're lucky that we're able to do that because we have a subscriber base and patrons who are happy to support us, and they appreciate that sort of thing. And then that means that we're actually able to go and do it. We don't have to go and chase that monster clickbait headline. We don't have to provoke people. It just doesn't have to happen. I hate that stuff. We all do. We all hate that kind of antagonistic style content. The reality is that a lot of media outlets have to do that because for one reason or another, people like that. People click on it. It is effective. That's why they do it. So we're sort of part of that reverse tide in a way, and we're able to continue to kind of just create the content we want to see out there. Content we think is good. Content we think people will like. So that comes in various forms. Obviously, we've got 3 podcasts a week. We've got a couple of clients that we're working with, which is great. I think the short-term goal for this season, try and get ourselves onto YouTube a bit more often. Try and get over there. Yeah, I think it takes resources at the end of the day, though. It has to be the last one. The podcast is very easy, man. It's 3 people, internet connections, houses, and microphones. Or, in this case, it's 4 people and microphones. It's fine. YouTube is different, and that's probably something we're going to have to try and walk into a little bit more. And because we're able to pay people now, fortunately, we can pay guests to come on. We can pay the very best of guests. Hopefully, they bring listeners in. We have to continue to expand that audience, and probably need to pull our fingers out and up our game on social media a little bit, because we don't tweet very much on Ranks FC. We really should. Just can't be asked. But it is kind of important. So probably need to figure that out as well. So bottom line, continue to grow audience. Put some effort into YouTube, log into Twitter once or twice. That'll be it.
And for you, any personal goals, anything like that?
They're all now intrinsically attached to Ranks. The 3 of us are Ranks FC. We're a 3-man company. So Ranks' success is my success, and vice versa, I guess. I don't really have any personal goals outside of just making sure that this company keeps its clients, turns up to the studio on time, releases the podcasts on time, that sort of thing. It really is that simple right now, just putting our best foot forward. So the 2 are intrinsically linked. They are almost one and the same.
That's awesome. Josh, Owen, any questions, any comments?
Got nothing.
Thank you
Okay, well, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us. I know you're super busy, and best of luck with everything with Ranks FC.
For sure.
Wow, thank you guys. No problem at all. Happy to sit down and join you guys. Thanks for asking me about my career. Didn't think you'd be interested in that, but there we go.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Some good stories, and more to come, I hope, as well. So, and thanks to you guys as well for tuning in and listening. We massively appreciate it.
For everyone listening, we will see you guys this Sunday, where we will be ranking the best transfers this transfer window. We'll see you guys then.
Thank you.